32 is our starter? 32?
Yes.
Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
We can sing this together.
Narayana Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswati Tato Jayamudiraye Namasamareshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavatsaya Bhagavati Tamasloke Bhagavati Nachiti.
Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one shall respectfully make excuse unto the personality of God and Narayana, unto Narayana, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, unto Suta Gosvami, the author, and Prabhupada, translator and commentator, by regular attendance in classes on Bhagavatam, by regular observance of the spiritual devotees, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised and transcends song, established as an irrevocable fact. Hare Krishna. So let's do this. Om Adhyatimiram Dasya Nandanandana Chaksur Ulitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. And at first I thought I was really happy there. I did. I was like thinking I was me and everything was fine. Okay, anyway. But Srila Prabhupada very kindly forced open my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. Therefore, I am totally indebted to Srila Prabhupada, and I thank for service at his road to see life after life, forever and ever and ever. Hare Krishna. So we are on chapter 19, which is the appearance of Suta Gosvami. So this first canto is establishing the qualifications of the hearer and the speaker. You need to hear, and I'm sure you've heard this very often, you need to hear from the right source, a learned, transcendental, pure personality. You need to hear from the right source, but also to get the most out of hearing, there are habits, attitudes, practices that we can do so that we can actually come to the point that we're actually absorbing, understanding, and digesting, and then therefore living and speaking what we hear. So this 19th chapter, okay, so this is the first canto. It gives a good explanation of who Maharaj Pariksit is, what his situation was. And now this last chapter, this 19th chapter, is talking about Suta Gosvami. So we're on 32, and yeah, that, and we could we'll just read the English. Actually, which verse is it supposed to? Anyway, okay, yeah. So we'll just read the English first until we get to something. Okay, and it looks like you can start. It's okay with me.
Unfortunately, Prariksit said, "O Brahmana, by your mercy only, you have sanctified us, making us like unto places of pilgrimage, all by your presence here as my guests. By your mercy, we, who are but unworthy royalty, become eligible to serve the devotee."
Okay, so let's just look at that for a second or two. What do you see in this? What do you see that Maharaj Pariksit is expressing? What do you understand how he's expressing it? What do you pick up from what his expression there? Yes, Nate, great. Thanks for volunteering.
The devotees are, they sanctify atmospheres, and they're amazing to be around. It's the best blessing.
Okay, thanks. That's so true. And then also, what did you notice about Maharaj Pariksit? His attitude. Parikshit's attitude. Yes. Sometimes.
He's very willing to take to instruction. He knows about having submissive to take that instruction.
And he thinks he's great. What? No, he doesn't call. Sundari? Unworthy. And look at how qualified he was. You know what I mean? King of the whole world. When we read these stories and we read it in the Bhagavatam and we just go, what do you think? You know what I mean? But just consider Maharaj Parikshit's position. There he was, protected by the Lord in the womb, had a special birth, obviously. He was born in a royal dynasty, you know, he became the king, his uncles were the Pandavas, you know, so many reasons. And he was a able-bodied, competent, just, pious, not just piously, but just and pious, but full of bhakti piety, not just mundane piety. He was very qualified. And not only was he the king of the United States, not only was he the king of England and the king of India, and you know, he ruled the whole world all at once. And then when that unfortunate incident came, he lost his little temper a little bit and put the snake around the sage's head and then got cursed. He was totally fine. Even though he was so elevated, he could have very easily counteracted that. You know, even though curses by Brahmins are pretty powerful, he could have done it, and still he just accepted. Oh, Krishna's so kind. He's extricating him from this entanglement. So he's extremely elevated, but at the same, and the proof of his real elevation is that he's extremely humble too. You know, sometimes we think that the proof of our elevation is that we, you know, how we know this, we know that, but actually the real qualification of being elevated in Krishna consciousness is totally opposite of what we think, because the more advanced you become, the more you realize what you're saying. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in his Madhurya Kandamini, he explains that sometimes people, after having been around a few weeks or a few months or a little time, they finally learn the prayers and they know the prasadam prayers and they know how to say their obeisances and they know when they're supposed to stand and they know what they're supposed to do when they get to Gila, etc. Then they become very proud of that and like to instruct others. It's called, at that stage, it's called utsahan, which is enthusiasm. Utsahan mai, false enthusiasm. Krishna gives us a little injection, you could say, of confidence and of taste for the process of devotional service. But the realization isn't very deep just yet. It will come, but it's not very deep just yet. And there's a false sense of assurance. Anyway, Pariksit Maharaj exhibited his capabilities by showing understanding that he was very insignificant. So can somebody explain that phenomenon? How is it that how is it that it's a symptom of being more advanced, understanding that you're less qualified than everything? Mr. Advaita Prabhu? You got that mic, it's right there. Next to your big cup was blocking it.
Maybe there's somebody else. I can go, but if there's somebody else.
Why don't you go and then somebody else will be inspired to go? How's that?
In the light of our Krishna consciousness, as it grows, and we realize the greatness of Krishna, person
Exactly that. Anyone else want to add to that? Say it in their own words in a different way. Sundari, can't remember your full name. Sundari Leela Prabhu. Don't forget to use the mic.
I feel because our actual position is that we're very tiny. We're not actually that great. We just think we are great. And as we develop, I think that falls into more and more. We're more in our natural position, which is we're tiny.
Exactly true. Yeah, good. Two good points. Exactly that. You know, and just further explanation, the symptom of being under the clutches of illusion is that we think that we're creating the most important universe, and I'm the center of the world, and all my opinions are really good, and all your opinions are really stupid, and et cetera, et cetera. That's a symptom of ignorance. Very prominent these days in the academy. Okay, let's go to the second verse. We're moving along here. Notice. Okay, 33. A volunteer. Oh, yeah, Jonathan, please.
Simply by remembering you, our house becomes instantly sanctified, and with the speak of seeing you, touching you, washing your holy feet, and offering you a seat in our home.
Mm-hmm. You can read, let me just, yeah, sure, read the purport.
The importance of holy places of pilgrimage is due to the presence of great sages and saints.
Okay, there's a lot you could say about that. Would you like to say anything about that? What's your first impression there? Is that what everybody's impression is? Here's what I'm coming in. Is that what everybody's impression is when they go to a holy place?
I think they like the scenery.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. In other words, often sacred places or sacred rivers, they think to go take a bath or dip in the river or dip in the pond or dip in a holy place. And that's very good, and it's true that it is purifying, but more purifying is here. Prophet's going to explain that.
It is said that simple persons go to holy places and leave their sins there to accumulate. But the presence of the great saints disinfects the accumulated sins, as thus the holy places continue to remain sanctified by the grace of devotees and saints present there. If such saints appear in the homes of worldly people, certainly the accumulated sins of such worldly enjoyers become neutralized. Therefore, the holy saints actually have no self-interest with the householders. The only aim of such saints is to sanctify the house of the householders, and the householders therefore should feel grateful when such saints and sages appear in their doors. A householder who dishonors such holy orders is a great offender. It is enjoyed, therefore, that a householder who does not bow before a saint at once must undergo fasting for the day in order to neutralize the great offense. That's not bad.
Okay, let's go on to 34. Any comments or questions on that? It's going to be a little bit more clarified. Coming up now. Okay, 34, please, someone.
Just as the atheist cannot remain in the presence of the personality of Godhead, so also the invulnerable sins of a man are immediately vanquished in your presence, O saint, O great mystic.
Any thoughts on that? Or comments? Or let's read a little bit in the purport then, if you can.
There are two classes of human beings, namely the atheist and the devotee of the Lord. The devotee of the Lord, because of manifesting godly qualities, is called a demigod, whereas an atheist is called a demon. The demon cannot stand the presence of Vishnu, the personality of Godhead. The demons are always busy in trying to vanquish the personality of Godhead, but factually, as soon as the personality of Godhead appears, by either his transcendental name, or attributes, pastimes, paraphernalia, or variegatedness, the demon is at once vanquished. It is said that a ghost cannot remain as soon as the holy name of the Lord is chanted. The great saints and devotees of the Lord are in the list of his paraphernalia, and thus, as soon as a saintly devotee is present, the ghostly sins are at once vanquished. That is the verdict of all Vedic literatures. One is recommended, therefore, to associate only with saintly devotees, so that worldly demons and ghosts cannot exert their sinister influence.
Let's go on. 35. Yes, just grab the mic. Go ahead. Can you tell me what your name is when you get the mic? please, and thank you.
Hare Krishna, my name is Anthony.
Anthony, okay. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is very dear to the sons of King Pandu, has accepted me as one of those relatives just to please his great cousins and brothers.
Okay, read the purport, please.
A pure and exclusive devotee of the Lord serves his family's interest more dexterously than others, who are attached to the illusory family affairs. Generally, people who are attached to family matters and the whole economic impetus of human society is moving under the influence of family affection. Such deluded persons have no information that one can render better service to the family by becoming a devotee of the Lord. The Lord gives special protection to the family members and descendants of the devotee, even though such members are themselves non-devotees.
Okay, let's talk about that for a minute. So sometimes when we come in contact with Krishna consciousness, especially if you're coming in contact, not from your very birth and family devotees, but when your family is non-devotees and you come in contact with devotional service and become more and more interested, then there's this feeling of dichotomy, pull of the heartstrings, maybe I should be doing this for my family, maybe, that. But here, Srila Prabhupada is pointing out, in many places he'll point out, that the benefit that your family members get from you being a devotee is extremely, extremely high, extremely noble. There's so many stories. There's a story of, you remember, just because we had in the Sri Dave's appearance day just the other day, then there's always, you hear a little bit about Jayananda too, because he left before that. So Jayananda, he worked so hard for Srila Prabhupada, and you never hear anything much about his family. But there was one story that surfaced about his mother. And his mother, at the end of her life, it was after Jayananda left her, and his mother still lived on, and who knows where he was there. But anyway, at the end of her life, she was in an assisted living home, etc., etc. And somehow or other, there was a devotee there working in that home. And she was, and somehow, sorry, I don't remember all the details of the story, but somehow or other, she found out this is Jayananda's mother. And so at the end of her life, she was able to hear the holy name. She was surrounded by a devotee or two, and she got a wonderful benefit and a wonderful send-off, and she had a wonderful state of consciousness at the end of her life, just, by that divine arrangement. So sometimes if you get a little concerned that, your mother's disappointed with you or whatever, at this particular point it might be so, but it's going to lead to their eternal benefit. Whatever little that you can do and whatever advancement that you make, they'll also get that residual benefit from that. So hang in there and give them lots of prashadam. Okay. And they'll see the change in you. They might not be happy with it in the beginning, which there's so many different stories. Some people are fine with their kids becoming devotees, and some people are totally aghast and they get disinherited from the family, etc., etc. And things start off on a really rough note, but after a while, after they see that you're a balanced, sane, happy personality, they'll be gradually they'll be won over through the process of prashadam and your perseverance and your service. So keep that in mind. We're gonna move on because there's a lot of verses. Okay, 36. Tulsi, thanks for volunteering. Can you grab a mic? Thank you.
Otherwise, without being inspired by Lord Krishna, how is it that you have voluntarily appeared here, though you are moving incognito to the common man and are not visible to us who are on the verge of death?
So there's what's the underlying message here? Read it again, please, Tulsi.
Otherwise, without being inspired by Lord Krishna, how is it that you have voluntarily appeared here, though you are moving incognito to the common man and are not visible to us who are on the verge of death?
Okay, so just to remind us of the scene, the actual scene. So So when Maharaj Pariksit heard he was about to be cursed, he said, okay, that's okay. No, when he heard he was going to be cursed to die in 7 days, he left his kingdom, he left his family, he left everything, went to the bank. News got around through the ethernet, that he was fasting to death, and so all the great sages came to encourage him. And it's not that they all had one opinion on what he should do. That's the point. All the great sages that came had come from different fields, lineages of devotional practice or whatever, or self-realization. Some were impersonal, some were kamakandis, some were gyanakandis. They had different processes, and they were all at the beginning recommending, well, you should do this, well, you should perform a sacrifice, now you should study all the Vedas, now this and that. And a lot of the proposals were not practical. So we only had 7 days. So what's he going to do in 7 days, And then, at the height of the discussion or whatever, you can say, Suta Gosvami comes in. And no one had seen him before because he was just born, even though now he's 16 years old. No one had seen him before, but they knew he was the son of Vyasadeva. And what can you remember from your previous verses, your previous classes? How was it that they first recognized Maharaj Sukadeva Goswami when he first entered the assembly? They knew the art of physiognomy. Yeah. What does physiognomy mean? Can you remind me? Yeah, the physical appearance. Yes. Now, does that sound like you could apply that and discriminate? Oh, he's really handsome and beautiful. He's really handsome and this, so he must be good. And she's really this and that, she must be not so advanced, or whatever. So you could discriminate in that sense, but what's the basis of that discrimination? What's the behind that, the information that they're using to come to that conclusion? Srila Prabhupada talks about it many places, but he talks about it particularly in Nectar Devotion. Illumination, yes, but he talks about it in the first chapter. Characteristics of devotion, primary characteristics of devotional service, of pure devotional service, the 6 characteristics of pure devotional service. And it talks about in the first characteristic about the effects of sin on the living entity. The effects of sin are not just suffering. But the effects of sin also depend on, if someone's born into a lower family, someone's born with, during their life they have severe legal problems, or they're uneducated, or they're particularly ugly, or whatever. Those are all characteristics of previous activities, and you get a birth according. But so the sages, when they saw Sukadeva Goswami's beautiful bodily features, they could see, oh, he's coming, he's an enlightened soul, or he has, and then when they heard him speak, so that's not the only characteristic of, good karma. When you hear someone speak, that's the most important. When you hear what they have to say. Because, what is that little phrase that Prabhupada uses? Yeah, thank you. A well-dressed fool can fool a lot of people, but when he opens his mouth, and everybody knows, understand, when they speak, then you can understand. Does he really know what's what and what's the proper way to evaluate things and the proper way to act? So that's what they were basing it on. Understanding that he is the son of Vyasadeva, he had that high birth. That's not just any fallen soul is going to be born as the son of Vyasadeva. He heard from Krishna within the womb, etc. Okay, so so now the theme here in this text 36 is that Maharaj Pariksit, seeing that nothing's happening without the plan of the Lord. So the fact that Sukadeva Goswami came in at the last minute and had those extreme high qualifications of bhakti, he realizes this is Krishna's arrangement. And we might think, oh yeah, that happens to the great souls, but it also happens to us too. Krishna's arranging things in our life all the time. And we need to develop the eyes to see, oh, this is Krishna's mercy that it's happening. This is happening. If I get this opportunity, and we have that opportunity. This is Krishna's mercy. Let me take as most advantage of it as I can and utilize my time in the service the most I can. Let's read a little bit in this purple. Oh yeah.
Great sage Suta Gosvami was certainly inspired by Lord Krishna to appear voluntarily before Maharaj Prariksit, the great devotee of the Lord, just to give him the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam. One can achieve the nucleus of devotional service of the Lord by the mercy of the spiritual master, the personality of Godhead. The spiritual master is the manifested representative of the Lord to help one achieve ultimate success. One who is not authorized by the Lord cannot become a spiritual master. Srila Suta Gosvami is an authorized spiritual master, and thus he was inspired by the Lord to appear before Maharaj Prariksit and instructed in the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam. One can achieve the ultimate success of going back to God if he is favored by the Lord sending his true representative.
Want to read that one again, please? That sentence.
One can achieve the ultimate success of going back to Godhead if he is favored by the Lord sending his true representative.
And the next one too.
As soon as a true representative of the Lord is met by a devotee of the Lord, the devotee is assured a guarantee for going back to Godhead just after leaving the present body.
Okay, we'll stop there for a second or two. Any comments or reactions to those two sentences? Yes, Shantanu.
Using the intelligence Krishna has given us sincerely seek this disassociation.
Yeah. Yeah. Other comments, questions, or yes.
Yeah, I don't know how many times I've seen like going back to Godhead just after leaving this physical body. Pretty explicit. And I was thinking, as soon as a true representative of the Lord is met by a devotee, so I think there's something about, or like you have to have the qualifications to receive.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And Jonathan?
Yeah, this brings me back to lecture I heard one time. Dr. Swami is describing that basically, like, in this lifetime, even if you didn't like completely complete everything you're supposed to, like, it's possible that, you know, in your next lifetime you could be in another situation where actually, like, Lord Chaitanya shows up again, and just like in that painting back there, I think about that all the time. And they're all getting direct, you know, association with him. They're even like, oh wow, he's here, and that just by like you seeing the Lord, you know, and interacting with him, like immediately, then that's it. That's all it would take. You know, it's just that one interaction.
Okay. Yes, Renu.
My name's Chris.
Thank you. I was going to ask that. Thank you.
My first thought was like, oh, I hope I can be a devotee of the Lord someday, so that if I meet a true assured guarantee. But then my second thought was, can you be a devotee of the Lord without having already met a true representative of the Lord?
That's an interesting point. That's also discussed in that first chapter, or maybe not the first chapter, but it's in the first 6 chapters. Sorry, that I covered my. In the first 6 chapters of Nectar of Devotion, that's also covered, because it seems like a circular argument. Your point that if you've done devotional service in the past, you get to continue. If you've done devotional service in the past, you get to continue. If you've done devotional service in the past, you get to. How do you start if you haven't done devotional service in the past? And that's why, like for example, Suta Gosvami or Srila Prabhupada has come, and his representatives have come with that gift of pure devotional service, and they're freely giving it to us. And therefore, because we heard, even though we at that time we weren't qualified, because we heard, the next sentence is going to talk about that. We're going to get there in a minute or two. Because we've had the opportunity to hear, whether we wanted to or not, you know, but we're able to take it up. Then, because we did devotional service, we get to do devotional service, and we get to also tell others who haven't. And that's why the whole Krishna consciousness movement is formulated the way it is. We receive something, or make some advancement, and then we give it to others through prashadam, through the holy name, through book distribution, through a smile, or you know what I mean, some interaction like that. But one point is that we have received this. We might not be so advanced just yet, and we might be just in the beginning stages of understanding our good fortune, but we've received this similar opportunity. Only our situation is that we are definitely more unqualified. Like Maharaj Prariksit, he's expressing his disqualification, although he's highly qualified. In most of our cases, and especially mine, we weren't so qualified at all, and still we got the mercy. And if we grab it, then everything's there. Let's go on to that next sentence. So, can you read the next sentence? Oh.
This, however, depends on the sincerity of the devotee himself. The Lord is seated in the heart of all living beings, and thus he knows very well the movements of all individual persons. As soon as the Lord finds that a particular soul is very eager to go back to Godhead, the Lord at once sends his bona fide representative. That's really nice.
Yeah, isn't it? Isn't it? And I'm sure you've heard different stories like this, but I'm going to hold my tongue for a minute. You finish that, and then we'll talk about that.
The sincere devotee is thus assured by the Lord of going back to Godhead. The conclusion is that to get the assistance and help of a bona fide spiritual master means to receive the direct help of the Lord himself.
That's amazing, isn't it? Sorry. That means that we've all gotten the direct assistance by the Lord. Even though we're insignificant, even though we're contaminated, even though, etc., we have so many. Oh, I'm sorry. Don't forget your point, okay? So much disqualification on our part, and insincerity too is in there, mixed in the mix of everything. And still we've had that opportunity. And then the worst part is still the mind thinks, oh, woe is me. Oh, I'm this. Oh, I'm, you know what I mean? The mind is what is the mind? How's the mind described in Bhagavad Gita? The obstinate. He's your really good friend. That's all it says about the mind in Bhagavad Gita, right? What else is it? Oh, right after that it says, oh, yeah. Advaita Prabhu, I'm sorry. Can you, your last point? Microphono.
In regards to Chris's question, we do have different categories of devotees.
Yes. Yeah.
And I guess the gradation of those will be also based on the intensity of desire.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The weight of the desire to
okay.
grow.
Okay.
And then as we become able to discriminate, going between somewhere, Krishna mindset is one of them.
Okay, a point that I'd like to make is too that, so one thing that Prabhupada's stressing here in this purport is that the sincerity of the devotee is very important. But sincerity, just like faith, just like anything, it's not that you have to have this much sincerity to start. Even just a little sincerity to start, even a little faith to start. Those can be, and that's what this process is called, cultivation. It's bhakti is a cultivation. So we can cultivate faith, we can cultivate sincerity, we can cultivate, and so how do we do that? By hearing and by engaging in the process simultaneously, everything all at once. Hearing, engaging, serving, all of that cleanses what? The dust, the gunk, the mirror of the mind that's in the heart, cleanses that so that one makes progress from lower stages to higher stages. But it's very, okay, so one of that point is as soon as a devotee has a sincere desire to develop Krishna consciousness or to understand God, the Lord sends his representative. Do any of you have any personal stories you'd like to share? Any personal experiences how that affected you? Or have you heard any stories like that? Yes, Nate.
I guess it's more so devotee, how like I met devotees. And on one of the first days of freshman year, I was out late at night and I was just like, skateboarding around. And I saw some girl meditating, and I go up to her, and it's like late at night. I probably shouldn't have, but I go up to her and I'm like, "What are you doing?" and I think coming to you up, I think I just knew I was meant to like find some kind of something here. And so I really was seeking. I became good friends with that. She came to Christian house once or twice. Yeah, and then a few days later, I think. First day of class, actually, the person I sat next to was like Christian.
Yeah, and all of those people that you mentioned, they're called Vartmat Pradakshika gurus. They point the way. They point the way. Oh, you know what I mean? There's another story that Vaisheshika tells of his own journey. And so he was young teen, maybe 16, maybe less than 16, and all of a sudden he decided he was going to lock himself in his room because he wanted to find out, I don't remember the story really well, sorry, but anyway, he wanted to find out what the goal of life is, more or less, okay? And so he's locked in his room. It's been a day or two, and one of his friends got a Bhagavad Back to Godhead magazine, but wasn't interested at all. So he goes knocking on the door. I can't remember his name. It was anyway, whatever. He says, "Here, I got this for you." He said, "No, I'm not opening the door." I said, "No, this is really good. You should read it." So he slips it under the door. He slips it under the door. We read it, and it was like, obviously a life changer for me. There's many other stories that I've heard along the way, and I can only remember half the story of, but of devotees who thought, "I'm just going to sit out here in the rain until God reveals himself to me," or something, something crazy. And some even anyway, sometimes even somebody experiences a paper flies by on the ground and they pick it up and it's an invitation to the temple or things like that. So those drastic things happen, dramatic things, you could say, happen like that here and there. But just if you think back on your life, how you became, even if you were born in the movement, there was a certain point in time when you decided to take it more seriously than just, a social group, It's there. All of these things are there, and we've experienced them to little degrees. Okay, 37. Okay, some volunteer. Bruce, thanks for volunteering.
You are the spiritual master of great saints and devotees. I am therefore begging you to show the way of perfection for all persons, and especially for one who is about to die.
This is the essence of Maharaj Parikshit's quest. He actually asked this question way back in the beginning of the chapter. He expressed it to the group of sages that he first was with. What's the duty of someone who's about to die? Anyway, whatever. It was back ways. What was the duty about for someone who's about to die? Because this is what we're all facing. But he also, as Prabhupada has mentioned many times, he was fortunate enough to know you're going to die in 7 days. Prabhupada says we don't even know if we're going to die in 7 minutes, or nothing is guaranteed for us. But we're thinking, 7. I wasn't planning like that. But this is like, and the thing about how auspicious devotional service is that no matter what a person's situation is, that taking to devotional service is good for them, no matter what position they're in. Whereas no other process can say that it's good for everyone on all places and all times and all circumstances. Just like someone might be really into saving the planet, from whatever, or saving the whales, or saving the this or the that, or, helping the poor, creating peace over here, or whatever. That's all very good for a certain small group of people, but something that's good for everyone in every circumstance, at any time, any place, that's only devotional service. Because why? Because it goes not primarily to the external situation of the living entity, but to their internal position as a spirit soul, and it wakes up their soul, their sleeping soul, wakes up their sleeping soul to realize no matter what's going to happen here, it ain't going to be good in the long run, and it's not going to last. Okay, let's zoom along. 38, please. Unless you are free to make comments or questions if you have. Oh, Jackson, I just saw you there. Hi, Krishna. Jackson, can you read text 38, please?
Please let me know what a man should hear, chant, remember, and worship, and also what he should not do. Please explain all this to me.
And the next one, too.
O powerful Brahmana, it is said that you hardly stay in the houses of men long enough to milk a cow.
So that, in case you're new to that concept, we'll read a little bit about it in the purport. Please read the purport.
Saints and sages in the renounced order of life go to the houses of the householders at the time they milk the cows, early in the morning, and ask some quantity of milk for subsistence. A pound of milk fresh from the milk bag of the cow is sufficient to feed an adult with all vitamin values, and therefore saints and sages live only on milk.
Can you figure out, can you give a guesstimate how much a pound of milk is? Is it 4 cups? Is it 10 cups of milk? Is it a gallon? Oh, look, he's going to check on Google. Google knows everything. It's not very much. There's a pound of milk, a gallon of milk is like 8 pounds. So it's not very much. What does it say?
Half a liter, less than half a liter.
Less than half a liter. Can you explain that in American terms? Pint, 2 cups. I'm just testing. 2 cups. Yeah, 2 cups. Okay, that's gonna be your assignment for the next week. Just live on 2 cups of milk a day, okay?
What about the vegans?
Huh?
What about the vegans?
Sorry, you have to.
What about the lactose intolerant?
Anyway, we'll give you an exception, okay? We'll give you a pass, okay? All right. Let's continue on with the purport, please.
Even the poorest of the householders keep at least 10 cows, each delivering 12 to 20 quarts of milk, and therefore no one hesitates to spare a few pounds of milk for the mendicants. It is the duty of householders to maintain the saints and sages, like the children. So a saint like Suta Gosvami would hardly stay at the house of a householder for more than 5 minutes in the morning. In other words, such saints are very rarely seen in the houses of householders, and Maharaj Prariksit therefore prayed to him to instruct him as soon as possible. The householders also should be intelligent enough to get some transcendental information from visiting sages. The householder should not foolishly ask a saint to deliver what is available in the market. That should be the reciprocal relation between the saints and the householders.
What does that sentence mean? The householder should not foolishly ask the saint to deliver what is available in the market. What's the purport of the import of that? Yeah, and benedictions and cure for my disease and this and that. Most people are interested in those kind of benedictions and they miss the real point. 45%. Okay, continuing on, text 39. Oh no, I did that one in school. Okay. Are we on 40, right? Correct? Okay, 40. Here's our last verse. Oh.
Suta Goswami said, the king that spoke and questioned the sage using sweet language, and the great and powerful personality, the son of Vyasdeva, knew the principles of religion began his flood.
Jai. So, thank you, Rick. I'm sorry. I neglected you. Yeah, so Suta Goswami said, where did Suta Goswami come in the picture? There's a test on your Bhagavatam situation. Just let me say this. So Srimad Bhagavatam is what? A series of question and answers. So it's conversations within conversations. So Sundari Leela Prabhu, can you tell us how Suta Goswami came into the picture? Suta? Right. He's not even there by Prariksit side. So how did he get there?
Well, I think the sages.
They are.
Suta came to assemble sages during.
Yes. When Sukadev. Yeah, thank you. So when Sukadev Goswami spoke Bhagavatam or spoke to Maharaj Prariksit, Suta Goswami was in the assembly of sages. And after the scene ended and Prariksit went back to Godhead, Suta Goswami went back to, he was at Nandanandana at that particular time, and he spoke to the sages at Nandanandana what he had heard. And that's the whole scenario of Bhagavatam is questions and answers. And obviously from those 6 questions that were asked in the beginning chapters of the Bhagavatam, the sages asking, please tell us what the most important goal of life is. Please tell us so many things that they asked. Right now, I can't remember. Can anyone help me remember some of the 6 questions of the sages of Advaita? Can we hand him a microphone? Oh, okay, anyway, go ahead. Okay, thanks. Sorry.
Incarnations?
They did ask about the incarnations, yes. Nate, do you know some other questions that they asked?
Perfection of religion.
Yes. Other questions? Do you?
Perfection of religion. Where did Krishna go?
Where the religious principles are.
And what are we to do now that Krishna?
Yeah, look, there's a mic. Mics are important.
Yeah.
I listen online all the time, and then when you can't hear the comments, it's like it's very sad. Go ahead.
Yeah. Where did religious principles go now that Krishna is gone? What are we to do now that Krishna is gone? Kirtan. Kirtan.
Yeah.
Was there a question about pastimes?
Yes,
Krishna?
yeah, incarnations and pastimes, and also about the devotees of the Lord. Because that implied in that question of Manvantari Shankata is the activities of the devotees and the incarnations of the Lord. Yeah, I should have read them. But anyway.
Jonathan.
Oh, yes, Jonathan, thanks.
Didn't they ask what the most important questions to ask are? Isn't that one?
Yeah, and oftentimes, and then further along in their questions, when they asked other questions, they said, but we only want to know about this if it's really important. If it's not really important for us to understand about Krishna, then you can skip it, because they were focused, totally focused on. So, on, trying to understand how to make progress in spiritual life. So we can gather from that it's our duty, responsibility. There should be another word, but it's not coming. But it's our obligation too that as we're hearing, we should be trying to digest what we're hearing and therefore thinking of it in different ways and practicing. One things that will help us understand what we hear is if we repeat what we hear. Because if we repeat what we hear, we can also test ourselves. Did I really get that? Did I really assimilate it? Can I repeat it in a simple way? Can I give a different example that means the same thing? So that's also very important. In fact, there's one purport confirm. There's one purport that Srila Prabhupada says that actually repeating what you read or what you hear is more important than just hearing. Repeating what you hear is more important than just the hearing process, which is also very important there also. But at the same time, repeating helps us see that we're assimilating it properly. Comments, questions, or other forms of discussion? Yes, go right ahead. Corrections are also allowed too.
I just wanted to appreciate, and thank you. I just want to appreciate, I think it's in the report of tonight in regards to great saints coming for a short time on milking of the cow.
5 minutes.
And this was of course prior to I believe it was prior to any of the knowledge being written down.
Mm-hmm.
It was all passed by
Mm-hmm.
Oral perception. I just want to appreciate that.
It's my car? Yeah. You want it? Sorry. Sorry.
Yeah, I want to appreciate that the fact for what we have today is the wealth of Prabhupada's books.
Mm-hmm. Good point.
Yeah, we can spend not just 5 minutes with a great saint that might providence just wonder and knock it out the door. But spend as much time as we want in the presence of such a great one.
Mm-hmm. Good point. And that reminded me of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's quest to find a Chaitanya Charitamrita. So Bhaktivinoda, 500 plus years back. Yeah, because I think not quite that much, right? Anyway, Bhaktivinoda.
Oh, it's just two.
Yeah, because I was thinking Lord Chaitanya was 500. So anyway, yeah, less than 500. 200 years or so back, he couldn't find a Chaitanya Charitamrita. He had to go through all sorts of difficulty and all sorts of looking, and then finally found the Chaitanya Charitamrita, So again, appreciating the proliferation of Srila Prabhupada's books around and how easy, not only in the physical form, now in digital form, so many things are there. So it's a question of our choice to take advantage. Yeah. Oh, no, I haven't one. Sorry. Okay. All right. Yeah, to appreciate our good fortune, take advantage of our good fortune. Any other comments or impressions, or what is the word we use? Is feedback? Yes. Sundari Leela.
Just want to continue from Prabhu's point, like we should also, I'm personally grateful for this assembly of devotees and any assembly of devotees who are discussing transcendental literatures. It's so important when you turn the butter.
Yeah.
Actually, there was another just continuation from the verse about the spiritual masters. When a devotee needs a spiritual master, you're guaranteed to go back to Godhead. But it depends on the sincerity of the devotee. I recently had heard a lecture or had an experience, like a personal experience where there was also an assembly of devotees. One devotee asked a question towards the spiritual master. So what happens? So they're going through a lot of personal turmoil. So they go through some difficulty, and they're asking, so how am I supposed to deal with that? Am I supposed to just think that to suck it up basically because this is my karma, and then the Lord is going to take care of it? But I don't pray for the Lord for any material benefit. So I don't pray to the Lord that please remove this situation. I just endure it and just basically suck it up. and then the spiritual master, was saying that, well, basically yes, because actually you are, that's the difference between us, that's why we're devotees. Like, because for a regular person, they're also going through the same things, but they don't think in the same way.
Right.
And that just really highlighted in that moment, like for me, that the responsibility or what we have as devotees is actually both a blessing, a responsibility,
Yes.
And a duty to
Yes.
fulfill that order of the spiritual master. Because with them, with the blessing, it comes in order. We have to fulfill it, like we have to chant our rounds and wake up and do all the regular, do all these things, and so we can go back. It's not just like, oh,
Yeah, good point, very good
Yeah.
point. And it's so true too, that we have to do our part, but at the same time, because it's not like, oftentimes there's the conception, there's the misconception, you could say, the conception that when I take to devotional service and start to feel a taste and I feel exhilarated and happy and this and that and free from past distresses, etc., we're thinking, oh yeah, now my life is just going to be like a bed of roses. But actually, just think of all the stories in the Bhagavatam. It's stories of distresses. It's not that devotees are not going to get diseases, they're not going to have physical or financial difficulties or relationship difficulties. But what's the difference? The market difference is the attitude, the information, or what we do when we're in those situations that we have. That's going to make difference in how we assimilate it. So yes, the stress is going to be there, and difficulties and challenges, etc. There's going to be devotees that we're attracted to, and devotees that we're not so attracted to, or perhaps even repulsed by because of different characteristics or attitudes or whatever. But how do we deal with them, and how do we deal with situations like that is a real marked difference. It's the marked difference between devotional life and materialistic life. How you deal with it by, and it takes a lot of practice. It doesn't happen overnight. We immediately develop the proper attitude and proper relationship with them. So is Prashant, that's, sorry, I was waiting for the door to open. Sorry, my mistake. Anyway, thank you very kindly for your kind attention. All glory to Srila Prabhupada, by Mr. Prabhupada, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda.